hit record so we can record this for posterity. All right, outstanding. Welcome, sophomores. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. In just a minute or so, we're going to give folks just another minute to get here, but we're really going to keep this pretty simple today. We're just going to ask you guys to share a little bit about your project one at a time. And we may have some follow-up questions for you just because we're curious people. And yeah, we can't wait to see what you guys have in store. Mr. Bauserman or Mr. Broderick, does that sound about right?
Sounds good.
Sounds all right to me.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll just kind of go in the order here of my participants list. Cisco, if you would be willing to talk to us a little bit about what you did.
Hello, me and Ellie's right over here. She's joining her Zoom with her original person, and she hasn't started. Her teacher hasn't started it, so she's gonna come over here.
That's cool.
Okay, so for our project, we really wanted to learn more about sewing, and so we decided to remake a bar suit, which is a it's like a 1950s 40s like jacket and skirt combination. And she's gonna come over here and show you what we made. This is the main part is the jacket. It has a lot of like structural components, and we also made this skirt that you can't really see. It has pleats
And pockets.
and pockets. Yeah.
That's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you choose to go that way?
Well, so we took world history last year, and there was like a book project, like an extra credit one that we didn't end up doing, but I made the plans for it, where we would read Christian Dior's autobiography and then make the bar suit as like our final project. And we didn't end up doing that. So, but we had like the plans and stuff and like the research done. So we thought we could just end up using it for this.
Cool. How many tries did it take?
Yeah.
So we made a mock-up, which is just like using basic fabric like a sheet or something. We made a mock-up for our skirt and our jacket to try and get it down, but we just kind of did the final once, but we had to like practice it first with the mock-up.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any serious artistic disagreements in the process? What color, what fit, what shape, or anything like that? Or were things pretty harmonious?
Things were pretty good because the bar suit is traditionally white and black, and it's a very like the shape is what makes it the bar suit. So we didn't have a ton of like artistic disputes over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just sort of like followed the like original design.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. Who knows how to sew?
So I knew how to do a lot of the basics, like threading a machine and a lot of hand sewing and stuff, and like doing straight stitches. But why we chose this is so we could learn a ton of the technical stuff that goes with making like an item of clothing. And Cisco.
Yeah. I knew nothing about sewing. Like I kind of knew how to hand stitch, but I didn't know how to like work a sewing machine or like how to follow a pattern other than like beyond just following the directions, which there's a lot more that goes into following a pattern. And so, yeah.
Excellent.
Well, good job, guys. That looks like a job well done. You should be proud of that. That's really cool. Do you have any interest in continuing to learn more about sewing, or is this it? Are you done?
Yeah, I have a lot of interest. Since we finished making the suit, I've done like little things on my own, but yeah.
All right, that's wonderful. Okay, cool. Good job. Okay.
Nice job.
Next on my participant list is Eliza.
Okay, so for my project, so if you didn't know, my name is Eliza Ramel. I'm obviously a sophomore. But I softball for a sport. So I've played softball for 11 years now. I played since T-ball and I've played all my life. My mom played softball, and so it was just kind of like something I started to do. And it's something I really, really love. I play travel team all around for Indiana Mustangs. And then I also play here at North Central. So I was double rostered last year as a freshman and then ended up being all varsity by the end of the year. So that was pretty cool. But what I did for my project is, so obviously so one of my dreams is I want to play softball in college. And so obviously the recruitment for that and getting recruited and scholarship money is a very big part in that. And so I've started following and starting my recruiting process early so then I can get in front of as many college coaches as I can and have as many options as I can for college. So that was the basis of my project. So I did a lot of research on a bunch of different schools that I want to go to. Tried to start narrowing down like majors that I want to go into. I talked to a bunch of different people who have either went through the process or have helped people go through the process of recruitment to just get ideas on like how to go through the recruitment process, because obviously there's a bunch of different ways you can get recruited. And then eventually starting to contact coaches in different ways and formations. So that was kind of the basis of my project. So I got to in contact with NSR, National Recruiting Service, contacted me. I went to one of their metrics to just get some basic measurements of velocity and stuff like that for just my general knowledge. And they ended up asking me to be one of their NSR athletes, in which they would basically help me recruit. And so that was pretty cool. I ended up not taking their offer though, because I wanted to really drive the process myself. And I really wanted to be, if this was something I really, really wanted to do, then I would put the work in myself to email the coaches and to take the videos and edit the videos and post them and do all of that stuff, because that's stuff they would obviously do for me. And so I think it was a process that I really, really wanted to drive myself, even though I would have a lot of say with NSR. It's pretty cool to like get the word out to coaches yourself and to email them yourself and to figure out that type of process of almost how to sell yourself to college coaches too. So I think that was one thing that I really learned. Another thing is both my mom and dad played college sports at University of Toledo. My dad was in the honors college, so he got honored at homecoming with an award. And so I had the opportunity to go up with him, and I got to meet a bunch of different deans of the different colleges. And then I also got to set up a meeting with their softball coach. If you didn't know, University of Toledo is a D1 school. So technically, like, we can't talk about his program or like me playing for him, but we could just talk about softball in general, and I could pick about his brain about the recruitment process and what he's looking for in recruits and his general thing is of when I go to a game, what am I looking for? How do I really hear about people in the first place? What type of social media platforms should you use and stuff like that? So that was a really, really great experience. He was extremely nice. And so that is definitely a college I will be looking at. And then I also have started drafting emails to college coaches there was a put into all of the college I've looked at. Currently, I have a list of, this is going to sound like a lot, but 75 schools that I could be considering. And so definitely narrowing down that list is becoming a challenge, especially because I'm mostly in say of what colleges I want to like start emailing, but obviously I'm taking my mom's input, I'm taking my dad's input and the people around me for like, hey, I think this program would be good for you. So that's kind of my main goal right now, is counting down the 75. I have the Excel spreadsheet pulled up in front of me, but I had a total, I think, of 43 D1 schools, if I remember correctly, 12 D2, and then like 10 or something D3, and then 2 NAIA schools. So just looking at a bunch of diversity too, because not only I do want to go into mostly D1, but obviously I still need to look at D2 and D3 options, because there might be a school for me that fits me more academically or fits me more with like what I want in a school, and it might not be D1, and that's okay. I just need to keep my options open. And yeah, that's what I did for my project.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
So,
Yes. Yeah,
just out of
extremely
curiosity, how
well.
many D1 schools are there anyway?
So me and my mom literally sat down at lunch one day and we're like, okay, we're going through this recruiting book. My mom thinks that this book is like the holy grail. She's like, yes, this recruiting book is going to get me to college. And so we just sat there and went through all of the states and looked at all the programs, and just by name, it was like, oh, wait, this has a good softball reputation. Or she was like, oh, well, this school's really good academically. That like I could go through. And so we literally just sat down one day at lunch and went through. So there was a lot of schools that we went through. I think we sat there for a total of like 2 hours going through these schools to pick through them. So, but it was honestly really fun, especially like learning about schools that I've never heard of. Like one of the schools that I'm kind of looking at right now is Academy of Art University. But it's in California, and it has a really, really good arts program. If you also didn't know, I am in Counterpoints. So I'm actually at technically practice right now, but he let us go out for our personal projects. And then, so I also do that. So I'm interested in the arts too, but also a bunch of different majors of like communication. I've thought about going into bio or chemical engineering. So just many different pursuits that I might take. And so finding a college that would like pursue my academic career, but also going into softball. I am mostly looking at right now going into a minor of theater or something with performance, because I love it so much. And so, yeah, represent Sophie.
Yeah, outstanding, Eliza. That's awesome. Really well done. Congratulations. Good stuff. All right,
Thank you.
next we have up Nora.
So like mine was like I like made like a homemade cake like from scratch, like because I usually bake out of a box and it's really easy and everything. But mine, like I just made it from scratch, and then I also attempted to decorate it, and I did not like how like I kind of like just put a bunch of stuff on it, and yeah, I like made homemade icing with the homemade cake. Sorry, my dog is barking, but I made the homemade cake, homemade icing, and then like the overall, like I didn't like how it looked, so I just like threw a bunch of stuff on it, and well, that was like the overall thing.
Well, the most important question is, how did it taste?
It did not taste very good. It tasted decent, but not very good.
Where did you get the recipe, if I might ask?
Oh, I got everything off of Pinterest.
Pinterest. Okay. Very nice.
What
And
what flavor were you going for?
I made a red velvet cake and then like chocolate and buttercream icing.
Do you have an interest in trying again and maybe perfecting the recipe?
Yeah, definitely. I love to bake, and like that definitely was not one of the stronger things I've baked.
so do you have a particular kind more than others?
I like to bake like cookies or like pies, mostly like cookies and pies.
Nice. So in those particular situations, do you go pretty much from scratch?
No, I go mostly from like the box or just like basic recipes. Yeah.
Okay.
So Nora, how many times did you have to re-ice it and fix that up.
Kept like adding layers on top of it.
So what will you do differently next time?
I don't think I like followed the recipe quite like well, so I think I might like focus on that better probably. And yeah, just like focusing with that better, and maybe like measurements wise, because I kind of like guessed on a lot of those precise measurements.
Well, and baking is really chemistry. And there are a lot of subtle things that can impact your baking, like the humidity in the room, the temperature, when you're mixing things. So, there are a lot of variables that go into baking.
Cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Nora. Next up on my participant list is Sophia.
Hi, yes, I'm Sophie Reyes. My project was also learning how to sew. Just as sort of a like DIY, how to make like your own like functioning pieces. So I started, we had an old sewing machine in my basement, and I already have the first thing, and I pulled it out and I was like, I have no idea how to use this. This is like it's so old. I don't know where we got it from, but I was like, I cannot figure this out. The instruction manual was, I don't know, gibberish. So I ended up buying a new sewing machine, beginner friendly, helpful, off of Amazon, which made the entire process a lot easier. And I think it was a pretty good investment because I think I'll continue to use it. But then I started with a scrunchie, and the sides are like really rough because I didn't hem them. So they're just really frayed. The iron to like iron down the sides, which is pretty useful in these situations. But then I tried it again and I hemmed this one and it's nicer, but there's not enough like floppy fabric and it's kind of sad. But I decided it's probably time to move on. So I then continued trying hemming and I hemmed a couple like shirts that I had. Actually, both of them used to be rompers, and then I cut them up and now they're tops. And I use the fabric on the bottoms for other things. And I found out that I like hiding things, because when I didn't quite get a straight line here, I went back over it doing a purposeful curvy design so that you couldn't tell. It was, you do what you gotta do.
Right.
So then I moved on and I took some curtains that I had given us, and I ended up making a shirt, like blouse thing, that I can't remember if I've worn it to school or not, but I was like, wow, this is useful. It's helpful. I can actually wear this piece, and that's pretty cool. And the YouTube video I used was pretty easy to follow. And the fabric choice was a little rough because curtains are not ideal for some stitching and stuff because they're pretty thick. But it worked out for the most part. So I then moved on. I decided to make a dress, just moving our way up, which also I just chose two bad fabrics, but it ended up with a dress that I have worn to school one time, which is pretty cool. But there's a lot of like little rough pieces because the straps weren't quite long enough, so had to make them longer. And this top part used to be a pair of pants, and that fabric was very slippery and very hard to work with. But it ended up working out, and yeah, the curtains, it's supposed to be a gather stitch on the bottom, but curtains do not gather stitch because they're way too thick, so it ended up being pleats. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, congratulations. That's
So,
amazing. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bosman.
no, I was just wondering, what was the reaction of your folks to your picking out the sewing machine and going for it?
They were pretty excited. They were a little cautious about like buying a new one, but I ended up buying it myself. Um, so it ended up working out fine. And then the first thing I sewed, my mom got very excited, and she, as moms do, the excitement generally continued on. It was a down slope. They were like, "Yeah, we know you can sew now." Cool.
Perfect.
They were always excited for what I had to make.
So are you gonna, I mean, obviously you're leaning toward making clothes and things like that. Have you
Mhm.
thought about doing blankety things, or maybe heading toward, those kinds of things like quilts and things?
I have considered it, but I also so I'm very much a hobby person. So I also taught myself how to crochet a couple years ago. So I've been using that to make blankets and things. So it's sort of like using different skills for different
Items.
things. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think sometimes it's really cool how like a lot of what you learn in school isn't very practical, you know? But like when you learn how to do something like literally make yourself clothing, it's like really rewarding because you can like literally see you had nothing and now you've made something, and it's almost like magic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then Sophie, do you have any aspirations maybe of selling and making and designing clothes and selling them to either friends or family?
I think I would need to get better at making a straight line before I do that. Um, but potentially in the future.
So
I
if
don't
you
know.
will buy clothes from you anytime. You have such good style.
Thank you. That
Awesome.
doesn't mean I can make it though.
Congratulations, Nora. Or sorry, Sophie. That's amazing. Well done. Good stuff. Outstanding. Can't wait to see what you make next. All right, next in our participant list, we have Zael.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. For my project, I decided to do a little bit of history on popular Mexican foods. And
Okay.
Mexican foods, I had chosen tortas and pozole. And pozole is just like it's just like a hominy stew. Torta is just like a larger sandwich from Mexico. And for the history, it was like really interesting because I had to ask my parents about it. That's where they're from. I found out that pozole was originally made from cannibalism until it was banned. And they started using pork instead of human skin because they said it apparently tasted like it. And for tortas, like a bunch of variations of tortas. The ones that I found the most interesting were tortas de milanesa because it's one of my favorites. And turns out that milanesa is like breaded chicken, and it comes from Italy, and it came over to Mexico when there was like a mass immigration. And there's another variation of tortas that I really like. They're called tortas ahogadas, which literally just means drowned tortas, and they come from my mom's hometown in Guadalajara. And drowned tortas it just means that they're like smothered in red sauce. And I had a friend do the project with me, and his slides were about tamales and flauchas.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Sounds like you learned a lot about your own culture.
Yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well done.
What was your favorite thing that you learned from the process?
Oh, well, it was definitely the cannibalism thing because it's like it's weird because like it's one of the most popular foods and you don't really expect it.
Yeah, that human thing.
You'll be able to impress your friends with that little fact for the rest of your life. Like every time you're hanging around and they say, "Oh, I really love pozole," you'll say, "Hey, did you know?"
Right. Which
Well,
also means that they'll stop eating
yeah.
it and they can eat it.
All right, really well done. Congratulations, fantastic. Next on our list is Madeline.
Hi.
Huh?
So for my project, I was doing it kind of mixed with NHD, my NHD project, and I did the topic of the Haymarket riot. And I know like a lot of people do an NHD thing just to do it, but I actually was very interested in this topic because it kind of started with us having a lot of discussions about labor rights and labor movements in my AP US history class, which I was always like super into and super interested in. So I was like, oh, I should do my NHD and personal project about that. So as I was kind of like researching, it kind of took me down a rabbit hole and I realized a lot of things about the Haymarket riot that I like didn't know, such as it was actually created after a labor riot, after the police had like dispersed the riot and killed some of the rioters. So it was kind of also a protest against police brutality. So it was a very interesting discovery that even made me even more passionate about this. So I made a documentary for my NHD project, and it's been a lot of work, but it was really rewarding. And I'm sure my entire family is super tired of me like nerding out over this random history topic. But yeah, so that was my project.
Well done. Fantastic. How long is your documentary? How long did it wind up being?
So there was a 10-minute limit for my documentary, and my original script so I interviewed several people for the NHG documentary, a couple professors, and a tour guide of the Haymarket Monument, and they were super interesting to talk to. But after recording my script and inserting the interview clips, it was like 15 minutes long. So I had to cut it down word by word by word. So it's exactly 10 minutes and 0 seconds long.
I know exactly what that's like. It's really frustrating when you're like, oh, I got to cram all this. I mean, I think every teacher can relate to that. Like, I've got all this amazing stuff I want to talk about, but the bell's going to ring.
But yeah, it was very fun.
All right, really well.
What do you think is the message or a message that you would carry with you about the Haymarket riot and the way you see things today?
Something that actually was my eyes were opened by one of the people I interviewed, but it kind of shows how all of the stuff that we perceive like normal, everyday protections or rights and stuff, all of that came from decades and decades of struggle and challenges that these people had to go through. So it's really interesting to see how even though we are struggling with like some of the exact same things, like some of the connections to like essential workers and people like the Amazon strikers and different things like that, how there's such a correlation, but it's also wildly different. And the amount of like progress and change that has occurred is like incredible.
Awesome reflection. Nicely done.
Really good stuff, guys. Well, Mr. Bowserman, Mr. Broderick, I think we've heard from everybody. Have I neglected anyone? I don't think so. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, congratulations. You know, we know that this was a long process, and you know, we met, I guess, for the first time, like way back in August. And so, you know, we just want to say congratulations to you. You, you know, are meeting the requirements for the PEP, and we look forward to reading your reports and turning those over to the folks. I guess just a reminder for Mr. Broderick and Mr. Bowserman, feel free in a second to chime in if I've forgotten anything, but you do want to make sure that you remember to share or submit your written report or your video or audio recording to your faculty mentor or supervisor, and you want to include some journal entries and some citations. Is that about right, gentlemen?
Yep.
Awesome.
Do that through Canvas for me, or you can send it through the email. Either one works great.
Yep.
We will have, you'll also know that this whole thing is going to be put up onto, we have to post it onto YouTube for access by other staff, just so everybody is aware.
Yeah. And that's great too. So like if you want the link to this video, once it's up on YouTube, you can let me know and you can send it to your family as well. If like grandma wants to see what you did for your PEP or whatever, just let me know. Or your mentor or sponsor know. Okay, everybody. I think that's it. I think we're good. We're good.
Yes, we're good.
All right. Well, have a great rest of the semester if I don't see you. And yeah, best of luck wrapping up sophomore year.
Mr.
Congratulations, everybody.
I have a question for you about our interview.
Uh-huh.
When should we do that? When, like, aren't we going to do it like with you?
Oh,
for-
for you mean for the documentation purposes?
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of the paper. Yeah, we just have to set a time to get that knocked out. And so heck, we could possibly do it now.
Okay. Yeah, that works with me and Ellie.
Okay, so let me get you a chat or a Zoom, and you and I'll take care of that, and that'll let everybody else off the hook. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
All right, check your email in about 3 minutes.
Mr.
Okay.
Buzzerman, I have my citations and my my essay in the same Google Doc. Do you just want me to share that with you through Canvas or?
Canvas would be great.
All right.
All right.
And I gave you my notebook at the end of the day.
Yep, I got it. I'm looking at it right now.